Rely on the team spirit of Channel 2 News at 6:30. From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. Just in case you missed it, which most Americans did, we begin tonight with the eclipse, the only total eclipse anyone in North America will see for the next quarter of a century. There was a time when the moon blocking out the light of the sun was taken as a sign of evil. Crops would go bad, milk turned sour, bad luck to follow. We don't know about the crops and the milk, but there was bad luck of the worst kind for many eclipse watchers today, where the watching was supposed to be best. Hawaii. Here's ABC's Ken Kashiwahara.
It was 7:28 here this morning when the moon and sun converged, producing a blue halo, the corona, then a burst of sunlight, the diamond ring. This was the view from 13,000-foot Mauna Kea. But for the tens of thousands of spectators at sea level in Hawaii, their worst fears surfaced early. Dark clouds threatening to block the show they had waited years to see.
Cosmic crapshoot. You come 6,000 miles to see something, and, maybe you'll see it and maybe you won't.
The odds had looked good. Sunny more than 90% of the year in this part of Hawaii. Ken Brescher, a Boston University scientist, had given up a chance to participate in a solar experiment to be with his children during their first total eclipse.
Well, what do you see, Ken?
Nothing. There's too little sun.
The clouds did break up briefly, revealing a partial eclipse, sending spectators scrambling for their telescopes and cameras.
Come on, come on. Hey, let's hear it.
The excitement was only temporary. The clouds refused to move, no matter what some tried to do about it. As the total eclipse approached, as day turned into 4 minutes of night with the sun and moon still out of sight, some resigned themselves to looking 26 years ahead.
Next one in the U.S., August 2017. Mark it on your calendar now.
Ken Brescher was clearly disappointed for his children.
I'm sorry, Danny. We'll go to another one.
And Olga and Bertram Corin, who saw one total eclipse in 1925, had hoped to round out their lives with a second.
I'm glad I saw the first one. At least I have that.
In the end, the thousands of spectators who had flown to the Big Island packed up and prepared to head home. Their feelings perhaps best summed up by one. The total eclipse was a total bust. Ken Kashiwahara, ABC News, Waikoloa, Hawaii.
Well, a lot of people did have a chance to see part of the eclipse today, and if you were in a narrow band stretching from Hawaii to Mexico to South America, it was the whole thing, the whole sun blocked out. But for millions of others, you've already had a hint, even a partial eclipse was quite a happening. Here's ABC's Gary Shefford.
In San Francisco, where the eclipse was 55%, people gathered on street corners to see it, using a variety of homemade contraptions. Everything from cereal boxes with a pinhole to welders' helmets, so they wouldn't damage their eyes. In Los Angeles, 69% of the sun was covered, and thousands gathered at the Griffith Park Observatory. Many wore special glasses or went inside where they could watch it on a television screen.
I think the next time that this eclipse will occur, I'll be about, hopefully if I make it, about 76 years old. So I figure I better get it in now.
Sun gazers in San Diego were especially inventive. They watched using a pan of water with a sheet of plastic wrap floating on top. The eclipse was 100% in La Paz, Mexico, about 1,000 miles south of San Diego. The sky was clear, and hundreds who gathered to watch cheered during the 6 minutes of darkness. Said one woman, "I wanted it to last forever." Gary Shefford, ABC News, Los Angeles.
In a moment, the other news. The Bush administration trying to decide whether to bomb Iraq again. On the American agenda tonight, looking for alternatives to drilling for oil in the Alaskan wilderness. And finally, a fight about memory and race in a New Hampshire town.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer.
Escort owners talk about the new Ford Escort.
It's a whole new car. The only thing that didn't change is the Ford emblem.
Yeah, there is a night and day difference from the old Escort. The style grabbed me at first, and I got a whole lot of car for the money.
It's a good car for the money. I like it a lot. I look good in it.
The Escort's control is good, the handling's good, and the quality's great.
Get 2.9% financing on Escort during Ford's leadership celebration.
I knew something must be wrong. I was getting these sharp pains, and sometimes pressure and bloating. I'm glad I asked my doctor. He said it was gas and recommended Milacon.
Mylantis Milacon Gas. It has the best medicine for gas.
What am I doing here? This is my meeting.
Shower to shower body powder with baking soda to fight odor and absorbent cornstarch.
At the Pentagon today, what are described as urgent discussions on what to do about Saddam Hussein's nuclear weapons program and his other military projects that have survived the war. There is a lot of serious talk in Washington about the administration moving closer to a decision to bomb Iraq again. Here's ABC's Bob Zelnick.
Administration sources suspect Saddam Hussein is lying about what is left of his nuclear, chemical, biological, and missile programs so that he can renew them in earnest once sanctions are lifted or world attention turns elsewhere. While there is some disagreement within the administration about the size and pace of Iraq's nuclear program, most officials do agree that even before the war, which involved extensive damage to its nuclear program, Iraq was 5 to 10 years away from producing substantial numbers of nuclear weapons. Despite that, some in the administration favor bombing Iraq again. The problem is what to hit. Pentagon sources concede that the U.S. has discovered only a few nuclear sites they didn't know about before the war. The current list of bombing targets includes many that had been hit already, as well as other military targets not directly involved in the making of mass destruction weapons.
Officials say one purpose of renewed bombing would be to convince Iraq's military that it will live under the threat of Western attack until Saddam Hussein is gone. And while sources say a final decision is still days away, even the threat of bombing may make Iraq more forthcoming about its weapons programs. Bob Zelnick, ABC News at the Pentagon.
In Kuwait today, there was a series of huge explosions at a U.S. ammunition depot. They were reportedly triggered by an electrical fire on an ammunition truck, and more than 50 American troops are injured. A plane crash in Saudi Arabia today. All 264 people on board a chartered DC-8 died when it crashed shortly after taking off from the city of Jeddah. The plane was carrying Nigerians home from their holy pilgrimage to Mecca. The pilot is said to have radioed that his landing gear was on fire, but the plane exploded before he could get back to the airport. In Washington, U.S. and Soviet officials are trying to get past the one main obstacle to a Bush-Gorbachev summit. They're trying to finish an arms control agreement that would make major cuts in long-range nuclear weapons. Here's ABC's Britt Hume.
In the Oval Office this morning, the president received Soviet Foreign Minister Besmertnik, who had come in a hurry and under orders from his boss to resolve the remaining issues in the decade-long strategic arms negotiations.
I know it's a inconvenience, and you did it on very, very short notice, and I think it demonstrates President Gorbachev's interest, your interest, in reaching a accord on START, which is important to both our countries.
But still, there are three major technical things to overcome, and we have some ideas from the United States, and we have brought some of our ideas, so we'll try to merge them.
In fact, those technical issues involving safeguards against cheating, among other things, have proved extraordinarily difficult, and there is no certainty they can be resolved. The president implied as much when asked what the chances are.
You man's looking for odds. We don't give odds in the handicapping a horse race.
The reason for the urgent visit is that the unfinished treaty is holding up plans for a Bush-Gorbachev summit this summer. The president would like that to be announced at next week's economic summit, for which Mr. Bush continued preparation today with a meeting in Maine with Japanese Prime Minister Kaifu. The Soviet Union was a major part of that discussion, with Gorbachev scheduled to come to the summit to outline his plans for transforming his country's economy. Following their talks this afternoon, Kaifu and Mr. Bush said they agreed to press Gorbachev to demilitarize the Soviet economy in return for any economic assistance from the West. Despite the progress on arms control, the U.S. and its allies remain uneasy with what the Soviets still spend on weapons. Britt Hume, ABC News, Kennebunkport, Maine.
We'll have more news in just a moment.
Now you can ask Angela Lansbury about Bufferin.
Angela, you've said on TV that Bufferin is effective pain relief. Is it really strong aspirin?
I'll say it is. Extra strength Bufferin's the strongest dose of aspirin you can buy. 1,000 milligrams.
Angela, how can Bufferin be so strong if it has buffers?
That's a good question. I've learned the buffers don't weaken it. They just help prevent aspirin's stomach upset. Bufferin's great pain relief.
Shouldn't you discover the strength of Bufferin?
Dale Earnhardt, why are you getting your oil changed at a GM dealership? The fast or free guarantee. Fast or free? Yep, takes 29 minutes or less, or my next one's free. Gotta go now. And Earnhardt's back in record time.
Mr. Goodwrench Quick Lube Plus. Try it for a change.
In this, our 100th year of helping people travel, we'd like to offer one more piece of advice. Have fun. From American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
Introducing the new Gripper Zipper from Ziploc, the easiest closing bag there is. I can even close it with my hands tied behind my back. Yes, the zipper is grabbing hold. It's locking. Feel it close the first time, every time. Ziploc bags with the new Gripper Zipper.
Poison ivy, insect bites, lashes. Too many choices.
You only need one. Forte.
Stop the itch and heal the rash with a brand doctors recommend most.
Present Arms.
Cortaid, the only aid you need.
In Washington, the Senate Intelligence Committee has decided to delay hearings on the nomination of Robert Gates to be the next director of the CIA. The committee wants to talk to Alan Fires, the former CIA official, who has admitted withholding information about the Iran-Contra scandal from Congress. ABC News has been told that Fires has not implicated Gates in the scandal or in the cover-up. The Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas made another round of courtesy calls on Capitol Hill today, where his admission of having tried marijuana as a student caused hardly a ripple. 4 years ago, another Supreme Court nominee, Douglas Ginsburg, withdrew his nomination after a reporter revealed he had used marijuana while a law school professor. In the California city of Van Nuys today, a preliminary court hearing for a man accused of the unusual crime called stalking, following someone, harassing them, threatening them. In most places around the country, police say there's nothing they can do about that kind of thing until a person is actually assaulted. In California, that is no longer the case. Here's ABC's Brian Rooney.
Kathleen Beatty was followed and harassed by Lawrence Stagner for 8 years, but there was nothing police could do to keep him away until one day he actually held her prisoner.
I had come home from work at 4:30 in the afternoon, and I was listening to my answering machine, and I turned around and he was standing in my home behind me with a knife.
The behavior known as stalking can have terrible consequences, as it did for a Los Angeles woman who told a 911 operator her estranged husband was coming over with a gun.
What can we do? We can't have a unit sit there and wait in case he comes over. Oh, my God.
Minutes later, the caller and 3 friends were dead.
Now, victims of stalking in California have some protection. It is a felony to persistently pursue, harass, or threaten another person.
30-year-old Mark Blakely was in court today, accused of stalking a former girlfriend. A law that could put him in jail for a year was supported by actress Teresa Saldana, who was nearly killed by a stalker.
It's behavior that needs to be stopped. It needs to be a crime to stalk someone.
Stalking is a problem not only for celebrities.
Regular people actually have this more often. The ex-wife who's pursued by a deranged ex-husband, the employer who's pursued by an employee who was fired 3 years before.
Kathleen Beatty's stalker is in prison, but not forever.
I live the rest of my life in wait for it to happen again.
If Lawrence Stagner finds her again, he may find himself back in jail. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The State Commission in Rhode Island is holding hearings this week on a banking scandal. Last January, the governor shut down 45 banks and credit unions when the state fund which insures deposits went broke. Thousands of Rhode Islanders still can't get their money, and the facts emerging from televised hearings this week are only making matters worse. Here's ABC's Bob Jameson.
In Rhode Island's capital, the hearings have already confirmed what most people here suspected. The banks and credit unions failed because of embezzlement, risky loans, general mismanagement, and poor state regulation. There has also been testimony that many of the institution's officers, including State Senator John Correa, knew they were going to fail and got their money out just before the governor shut them down.
What I was doing is transactions. It's not redrawing money.
Even the head of the fund supposed to insure depositors withdrew more than $100,000 from this credit union days before the governor's action. That may not lead to criminal charges, but the hearings, televised throughout the state, are sharpening the anger of people like May Levinson and her son Steve, who still can't get their money, more than $100,000, most of the 71-year-old widow's life savings.
At my age, I never thought that I'd have to live through a crisis like this.
I'm devastated.
I am literally at this point almost poverty-stricken.
In all, a dozen Rhode Island financial institutions with $1 billion in deposits remain closed. And for 6 months, almost 200,000 people have been unable to get their money out. In the old mill town of Woonsocket, the economic effects are devastating. 40% of the residents have money in one credit union that is closed down. As more and more businesses shut and stories of hardship increase, residents say they want help in getting their money back.
We feel that the state and the federal government have turned their back on us.
These depositors will ultimately be made whole. If the state did not step in, they would simply have lost a significant portion of their funds.
Rhode Island has a plan to repay depositors, but it will take 2.5 years and they won't get any interest. That plan and these hearings have done little to restore the faith of the thousands here whose savings are still beyond their reach. Bob Jamison, ABC News, Providence.
What used to be the world's largest airline is rapidly becoming the smallest. In the latest sale of its assets, Pan American is now selling off its major transatlantic routes between New York and Europe, plus the Northeast shuttle to Delta for $260 million. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrials gained nearly 15 points today to close at 29.59, and the trading was moderate. When we come back, the American agenda, the battle for drilling for more oil in Alaska. Tonight, the alternatives.
Chris Evert discusses her weakness.
It's not tennis. It's eating. I love rich, creamy foods. But now this isn't a weakness. It's healthy eating, thanks to Kraft.
Kraft introduces Eating Right frozen entrees. Rich, creamy recipes now lower in fat, cholesterol, sodium, and calories.
Weakness? Not anymore.
New Kraft Eating Right entrees. Kraft makes eating right.
Delicious.
This is the sound of Unisom, the sound of sleep. With Unisom, you hit your pillow and fall asleep fast. Tonight, you can sleep more soundly with Unisom, America's #1 sleep aid.
When sore muscles or minor arthritis pain hold you back, you need strong medicine. Ben Gay with not just one, but 2 pain relievers. Warming power for fast relief. Helps get you going again. Ben Gay. Fast, strong medicine for pain relief.
What makes the Honda Accord so different? Honda's advanced technology. In fact, one of the most amazing attributes of the Accord is its ability to transport you into the future. Really, just get in and bingo, the future. Now, can your car do that?
How much is your checking account costing you? You ever add it up? They're charging you month after month. Well, now look what you get when you open a checking account at Great Western. It's free. You don't have to pay any charges for 6 months. Think of all the money you'll save. So give Great Western Bank a call. There's a branch near you that's giving away free checking.
We have put energy policy on the American agenda again tonight, the battle over oil in Alaska. The oil in question is underneath one of the last great wilderness areas on the whole continent, the Arctic Wildlife Refuge on the Alaska coast. As we said in our first report on this subject last night, the Bush administration wants to get at the oil. Those who say the refuge should remain a refuge believe there are alternatives. Our agenda reporter, Ned Potter, has been listening to the arguments.
America has few frontiers left, and there is no farther to go. Sometimes you got to draw the line, and there are no more lines to draw after this.
The line that Larry Landry has drawn is here in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge of Alaska, which oil companies are anxious to develop. Landry, who works for a small environmental group in Fairbanks, is part of a national effort to show there are better ways to get energy than by drilling the wilderness.
The amount of oil involved is just not significant enough to make an overall dent in our energy picture. The Middle East has it all. As long as we continue to need lots and lots of oil, it's only a matter of time before we go running to them.
This is the debate that swirls around the Arctic Refuge. Drill here for an oil-thirsty nation, or conserve enough energy to make drilling unnecessary.
Let me give you a sense of where we really are, here where nothing stands between us and the North Pole.
The nearest large city, Anchorage, is 700 miles away. Washington, D.C.
We interrupt this program to bring you a Channel 2 News special report.
I'm Jeff Gianola. The jury has reached a verdict in the penalty phase of the Frank Gable murder trial. We have a live camera in the courtroom. We're going to switch to that right now. The jury is coming in. Judge Gregory West now. And the jury had to answer several key questions. And let's go to Judge Gregory West right now.
And this is signature, Doris Stewart. That's your signature. And this is the verdict of the jury. All right. We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled court and cause, do find. And thereafter, you have answered the first three questions, yes. You have, however, answered the fourth question, no. Based upon your answer of no to the fourth question, you were instructed to answer question 5, and you have answered that question, no. And that is the verdict of the jury. Is that correct? Either side wish to poll these jurors as far as the first 4 questions are concerned. State. Mr. Abel.
Your Honor, I would like to have the jury poll question number 4.
Question number 4? All right. Given that we're going to do that, question number 5, anybody care to have the jury polled as to question number 5? All right.
You heard Judge Gregory West. The jury has answered no to question number 4 and yes to question number 5. And that means that Gable, the way I understand it right now, will receive life in prison without the possibility of parole. Let's go to our reporter, Phyllis Burke, who's covering us at the Marion County Courthouse. Phyllis?
That's correct, Jeff. When they said no to question number 4, that was the question, should he receive the death penalty? They said no to that. Once they said no to that, they were asked to determine question 5, which were there any mitigating factors to warrant leniency, that is parole, life with the possibility of parole, and they said no. That means Judge Gregory West must sentence Frank Gable to life without the possibility of parole. Now, the jury agreed on the first 3 questions. They agreed that the crime was deliberate and that Gable posed a possible threat to society in the future, but they still didn't return a death verdict. We hope to have more on this story and reaction for you at 6:30.
Okay, Phyllis Burke, who's covered this trial ever since it started. That same jury, of course, about 2.5 weeks ago, did convict Gable of the murder of Oregon Corrections Chief Michael Franke. Let's go back to the courtroom camera right now. This is live pictures from the courtroom. You see Gable there. No noticeable reaction from Gable. Once again, Frank Gable in the penalty phase of the trial will receive life in prison without the possibility of parole. There were several key questions that the jurors had to answer. If they had answered yes to all of those questions, Gable would have received the death penalty. But on the 4th question, the jurors answered no, and that means that Gable will receive life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I don't have one of those in front of me, so I'm not sure what it says.
Once again, you're looking at live pictures from the Marion County Courthouse, and they are now polling the jurors.
Does that not make sense?
And we're going to go right now back to our reporter, Phyllis Burke. Once again, our reporter, Phyllis Burke, has been covering this trial since it first began. And Phyllis, I'm interested in the reaction from those folks who've been covering this trial ever since the beginning. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I think the reaction to today's penalty phase was pretty much what a lot of people expected. They did expect it to be life without the possibility of parole. One reason was the defense testimony that was presented. The defense put on a psychologist who said that he thought Gable had functioned well in the past in institutions, even though he presented a danger out in society. And there was also a dramatic, tearful account from Gable's sister, Francine Stewart, about how he was sexually abused as a boy. And that seemed to move jurors when she was on the stand. So all of that testimony possibly could have persuaded the jury to spare Gable's life. Jeff?
Okay, Phyllis, I'm interested in Gable's new wife, Karen Steele, the 32-year-old attorney. They were married just yesterday. Was she in the courtroom for the jury's decision?
Yes, she was.
That is a picture of Karen Steele right there. We were watching a picture of Karen Steele. That's his new wife. She was in the courtroom for that. We're having a little bit of problem with our reporter Phyllis Burke's audio right there. You're looking at live pictures once again from the Marion County Courthouse, and Frank Gable talking with his attorney. And we will have more, of course, on the jury's decision coming up on Channel 2 News at 6:30. I'm Jeff Gianola. Back to our regular programming right now.
This has been a Channel 2 News special report. We now return to our regular program schedule.
Finally here this evening, Dateline, Jaffrey, New Hampshire, a story about bitter memories for sale. Jaffrey, which is in the southwestern part of New Hampshire, is quite popular with tourists in the summertime. This year, however, Jaffrey is the center of an angry dispute about history, antiques, and race. Here's ABC's John McKenzie.
On a summer evening in Jaffrey, nothing brings the town together like a concert in the square. It's what's going on across the square that has the town divided. Over at the antique store, the featured display is black memorabilia. Many call it racist memorabilia.
He is selling bigotry. He's making money off of the pain of our past.
He's an antique dealer, and it's history. And to me, they shouldn't hassle him selling it.
People buy these. Don't ask me what they do with them.
Thomas Breen has more than 300 bits of this Americana scattered throughout his store. Some of it, he admits, is offensive.
I'm not a racist, but I say it is collectible, it is of historical value, and it is a hard item.
Original pieces of black memorabilia, pieces of America's past, are bought and sold across the country by whites and blacks, including Oprah Winfrey and Whoopi Goldberg. But here, questions arose when the items were so prominently displayed, when it was revealed that many were actually reproductions. Residents began asking, is this preserving history or perpetuating a stereotype for profit? Featured in Breen's front window is a poster entitled Alligator Bait. He's printed 3,000 copies, selling them for $20 each. He also orders reproductions from wholesale catalogs. Many of the items are made abroad. Pencil holders from Germany, sugar and cream sets from Japan, penny savers from Taiwan.
This is the mechanical bank. He's called the Jolly Nigger.
In his basement, Breen scuffs them to look and sell like originals.
When I get done with this one here, you pay $100 for it.
We do not want people who are passing through the community to feel as though we are sympathetic to this sort of display or that we share in these views. However, we do recognize the owner's First Amendment rights to freedom of speech.
5,000 people live in Jaffrey. Lloyd Robinson is one of 14 blacks in town.
Well, the children sit there and look at it, and you go by late, and you're going, hey, there's a coon, Look at the gator bait. The front of the store is where they're learning that. Children go by what they see, and they've got to believe that this is right because the town lets it go on.
While some town residents are boycotting the store, Breen loads his truck and heads off to antique fairs throughout the Northeast, where he can often sell 40 or 50 pieces a week. For Breen and a growing number of dealers, the reproductions are simply a business, whether the pieces recall the racism of yesterday or reveal the racism of today. John McKenzie, ABC News, Jaffrey, New Hampshire.
And that's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Thursday, start the summer with a star-studded splash with William Shatner, Marilyn McCoo, John Denver, Alabama, K.T. Osland, the Pointer Sisters, and Shamu the Killer Whale and his aquatic friends on SeaWorld. Star-Spangled Summer, Thursday.
News of the Northwest coming up on 2. The jury makes its decision on the fate of convicted murderer Frank Gable.
A mother and her 2 young children are killed in a traffic accident near Salem.